In a quiet laboratory, behind clean walls and controlled lighting, a perfect world was built. There were no predators. No hunger, no disease, food was always available. Water flowed endlessly. The temperature was stable. Every need was met. It was called Universe 25, and it would end in silence. In the late 1960s, American ethologist John B. Calhoun set out to answer a question that felt increasingly urgent. What happens when a society eliminates scarcity? At the time, population growth was one of the great fears of the modern world. Cities were expanding. Urban density was rising. Calhoun believed that crowding might do something deeper than strain resources. He suspected it might alter behavior itself. To test this, he constructed a carefully designed enclosure for mice. The habitat could support up to 3,000 mice comfortably. It was engineered to remove survival pressure entirely. There were nesting boxes, food stations, water sources, and protected spaces. The mice would never need to compete for basic needs. He introduced just 8 mice, and then he waited. At first, the results were predictable. The mice reproduced rapidly. With no predators and unlimited food, the population doubled every few weeks. Order emerged. Social hierarchies formed. Mothers cared for their young. The system seemed stable. Universe 25 looked like a success story, but then something shifted. As the population density increased, strange behaviors began to appear. Some male mice became hyper-aggressive, attacking others without provocation. Fights broke out randomly. Territories became unstable. Weaker mice were pushed into the center of the enclosure, where they endured constant stress. Other males responded differently. They withdrew. They stopped competing, stopped mating, stopped defending territory. They groomed themselves obsessively and avoided interaction. Calhoun called them the beautiful ones, physically pristine, socially detached. The females began to change as well. Some became aggressive toward their own offspring. Others abandoned nests entirely. Infant mortality rose sharply. Parenting, once instinctual, began to collapse. And then reproduction slowed. Not because there wasn't enough food. Not because of disease, not because of external threat. The mice simply stopped participating in society. At its peak, the population reached around 2,200, well below the enclosure's capacity. And then it began to decline. Birth rates fell to 0. The final generation of mice grew up in a world where no one knew how to parent, how to court, how to defend territory, or how to cooperate. Social roles dissolved. Interaction became chaotic or non-existent. Eventually, the colony died out completely. Universe 25 became a utopia with no future. Calhoun described what he observed as a behavioral sink, a breakdown of social structure caused not by scarcity, but by excessive density and social stress. But what made the experiment haunting was not just the overcrowding. It was the loss of meaning. In a world where survival required no effort, traditional roles disappeared. There was no struggle, no necessity to adapt, no external pressure demanding cooperation. And without those pressures, the social fabric unraveled. Critics later argued that the experiment oversimplified human society. Mice are not humans. Their environment was artificial. The enclosure offered no complexity, no evolving challenges. But even with those criticisms, Universe 25 remains deeply unsettling. Because we live in a time where survival, at least in developed societies, is increasingly automated. Food is abundant. Climate is controlled. Entertainment is endless. Technology mediates our relationships. Algorithms shape our attention. Many of the pressures that once structured human communities have softened, yet loneliness is rising. Birth rates are declining across advanced economies. Social trust is eroding. Digital isolation replaces physical community. Calhoun never claimed his mice predicted humanity's fate. But he warned that social structures are fragile. That density without purpose can fracture cooperation. That abundance without meaning may not produce flourishing. In Universe 25, the mice did not die from hunger. They died from disengagement. The beautiful ones survived the longest, clean, unscarred, isolated. They had removed themselves from conflict and reproduction entirely. They were safe. But they ensured the colony's extinction. That is the quiet horror of the experiment, not violence. Not starvation, but withdrawal. A society that stops participating eventually stops existing. Was Universe 25 a flawed laboratory curiosity? Or was it a mirror, reflecting what happens when comfort outpaces connection? Calhoun believed that when individuals cannot find meaningful roles within a dense population, social collapse becomes possible, even in paradise. The enclosure still had food, still had water, still had warmth, it just didn't have a future. And that is what makes Universe 25 more than a mouse experiment. It is a question. What sustains a society once survival is guaranteed? Resources or purpose? The laboratory went silent. And in that silence, the experiment ended. If you found this deep dive compelling, subscribe to Talking Tech for more documentary-style explorations of the ideas shaping our technological future. Because sometimes the strangest experiments reveal the most uncomfortable truths.